right? It had reduced to 54.4% of total population. And then the head count reduced to about 73 million. Because we were giving money out. But the question you need to ask, why did PAP fail? It was not sustainable. Now, you see a crack on the wall. You call the mason, they fix the crack. They paint the wall. 2 weeks later, the crack opens again, it's now wider. You call the same mason, they fix the crack again, they paint the wall, right? Where is the problem? The problem is in the foundation. You understand? The problem is the foundation. Fix the foundation and the crack will stop opening. That's what we are missing here. The government thinks, the Abacha loot they collected now, say, okay, yeah, we're going to give them out. It's not a long-term solution. The long-term solution is to invest in human capital. That's what the Asians are doing, that they are lifting people out of poverty. We cannot abandon human capital and expect that we're going to have growth, right? Inclusive growth in the economy. It's not possible. Even if we go back to a 10-digit, and I mean it, even if we go back to a 10-digit growth in our GDP now, right? People are still going to be added to poverty because the economic model is wrong.
The investment here, social investment that he talked about,
yes,
is investing in human capital. For instance, the children's feeding program in the primary schools, yes, that's part of investing, so that conditional cash transfer. But let me stick with the educational part of it. That's investing in the children to ensure that they stay in school. Is that not a step in the right direction? It's a
step in the right direction. I'm not saying it's not a step in the right direction. But what I am saying is this. Until we run an investment economy, your investment is what brings you wealth, not your expense.
How do we run that investment economy in a country that's seeking to build infrastructure or talked about building infrastructure continuously?
Now, your investment, right, in your budgets, when you say capital, it's human capital and infrastructure. That's what I mean,
yeah,
right? We need to restructure the budget. That is where the major problem is. Restructure the budget, and if we can go to slide 5, right? It will show you when we started deviating from an investment economy. We started deviating from an investment economy in the mid-80s, and that's where things started going wrong. That's what data shows. Look at education expenditure from the mid-80s, right? From 1981, 81, we got to our peak. 82, it was still okay, but from 1986, 87, it started coming down. And what did we see, right? What did we see? What did we see in the mid-80s? By 1992, our investment in human capital had reduced to 0.76% of the GDP, while countries in Africa are recording 4 points, 5 points, 3 points. Nigeria is investing less than 1% of its GDP in education. It's not possible. You know my gospel. The gospel I preach is human capital development. There's no way out. Even if we record a 10-digit increase in GDP growth, poverty will still be added. And you've seen that between year 2000 and 2014.
Okay, Markwe's got a question for you, so let's go to her now. Markwe?
Mr. Oseghale, I totally feel the gospel that you're preaching, but we all know that human capital, I mean, from the graph that you just showed, it shows that this thing started going wrong even way before I was born. And so it would definitely take time to correct, and that's all a number of people will say. How much time would you say we need? And how much money would we be looking at? How much of a commitment do we need to be looking at pumping into human capital, considering, the current nature of our expenditure, what we currently earn as well, and also population growth? We've been told we're going at an exponential rate, and we know that it could be a time bomb if we don't do something about it. What are your projections? What do you think we need to be earning? How much do you think we need to be spending on a yearly basis, and for how long?
Thank you very much. I think the first thing is this. I'll use data we gathered from Indonesia as a classical example. Now, in the 70s, 60s and 70s, and early 80s, Indonesia was not really investing in human capital development. But when they now started, the UN says 26% or 5% of GDP, 26% of budget or 5% of GDP. What Indonesia did was to try and make up for all the lost era, right? They increased their education expenditure beyond 26%. And we must understand something. Education is not an expense. It's an investment. And that's why when you look at the net adjusted savings of a country, it says it equals your net savings plus education expenditure. Education expenditure is the only thing on the positive there, minus your net forest depletion, minus your mineral resource depletion. So whatever you spend on education comes back into your balance sheet as assets because it's an investment. So the first thing the government needs to do is this. If the benchmark is 26%, we need to first of all meet that 26%. And then second, we need to now pass a policy that, look, and it has to be bipartisan. Nobody has the right, no party has the right to interfere with this expenditure. Even if we collect 20 to 25 billion in a year, that the revenue falls, those are the kind of decisions that the countries in Asia took. They made sure that those investments in human capital, no matter how little their income, their revenue was, they stuck to that 26% because it's an investment. And then we can decide to...
But is that really practicable?
It is practicable.
Is that really practicable?
I'll tell you,
in a country that is battling security issues, infrastructure deficit, how practicable is it for you to say you must stick with that percentage, you know, year in, year out? Don't forget that there's also health, which is also a major component of what we should be looking at for that human capital development.
Now, I'll tell you something. A lot of people say we don't have the money. I believe we have the money. Why do I say that? I said this May when I was here. If you look at the composition of the budget, people look at the composition as in recurrent versus capital. Nobody takes the time to look at the budget critically page by page, right? Now, when you read the budget, then you will see all the gaps and deficiencies and the wastage in the budget. What I did between the early part of this year, I downloaded the budgets from year 2000 and I started reading them page by page. And it will amaze you what I discovered in the budget, right? There are a lot of places in the budget that funds can be saved and then redirected into human capital development and health. And I'll tell you, one of them is, there are 4 things I found out in the budget. Your salaries, right, is due you when you work. Then the second thing is travels general. When you look at travels, local and international, then the third is benefits and allowances. The fourth is training, local and international. And then when you now look at consumables, things like photocopiers, computers, that the ministries, the MDAs buy every year, right? It's like a repetitive thing. You buy 20 computers last year, then you only just look at the budget this year and increase it to 25. These are things that need to be audited. Every computer has a lifespan, right? Why are you buying 20, 25 computers every year? So those are things that need to be audited. We save these funds and redirect them. We have the funds. It's not that we do not have the funds. But the critical thing in the budget is that there's so much wastage that is not being audited.
So if those are channeled properly, we may be achieving some results.
Exactly.
We'll look at some of those additional slides when we'll come back in a moment. Join us again.